Hey, I'm Dagny, and in this video, I want to discuss with you this concept of evolution when it comes to triggers, either being triggered yourself or interacting with someone who is triggered by interacting with you. The point of this is from my experience, because I've noted I have transformed a little bit, which I'm very proud of, and I feel like this is something that can really guide us and help us to be more compassionate with ourselves and more compassionate with other people, which if individually and collectively we could continue doing that, I think we would all just feel better. Instead of just telling you a complete personal story, I'm going to illustrate this through a scenario to make it more so you can see yourself in this scenario as well, right? So this is almost like we're going to do some hands-on activity right here, okay? Let's say you are talking to someone. And in this scenario, this someone is somebody you love. So someone who's close to you, it could be a family member, it could be a good friend, it could be a significant, but there's someone who you really are, you got history with, okay? You've spent time with. This person has possibly experienced multiple versions of you due to how much time they have known you. And in this scenario, this particular person initiates a conversation with you. And you receive that invitation for conversation very openly. Yeah, sure, what's up? How you doing? What's going on? Yeah. And they start the conversation with this, they are happy to speak to you or happy to spend time with you. But there's a but. They're also stating things that they want you to do. Oh yeah, for example, just wanted to, just checking in on you, just want to reach out, want to find out how things are going, because I know you're so amazing at insert whatever you are focused on or creating on. But you never call me, or you don't do this for me, or you haven't showed up at such and such place for a while, or you don't respond to me, or, there's that at the beginning. Now, let's take that first part, yeah? Because there's parts to this conversation. That first part of the conversation, the other person is stating making a claim as well as stating a need, right? They're making a claim that they're reaching out, just because they care about you. That's what they're saying. But they're also stating that you are not fulfilling their need, or you're not behaving the way they need you to behave. Now, depending on the other nuances of the history you have with this person, this can immediately look petty. This could immediately look petty. So your response could be I don't know what you're talking about. This could immediately look, oh, this person is kind of reaching out for help. Maybe they're going through something. So let me really now listen, because maybe there's something they need to get off their chest, right? Or you could take it as an affront and get all defensive and be I don't know what you're talking about. I spoke to you yesterday. What's the problem? Yes. So let's say you take the second option of, oh, well, it sounds like this person is in need of something, or at least is in need of someone to truly listen. So yes, I'm here. I'm listening. Tell me what's going on with you. They continue There's nothing wrong with me. I never have a problem. I'm just, reaching out to, just find out if you are okay. If you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, or if you should be doing what you should be doing. And I'm like, oh. And then you respond. Because remember going the route of you actually care and you're trying to figure out what's going on. And so you again take note, yes, everything's wonderful actually. Like things are going really well. And I'm doing pretty well. Yeah. So what about what you've been working on? Or what about, you try to bring up whatever you remember from the last time you interacted with them, and their reaction or their response is, their response is deflecting from themselves and again, focusing on you through their lens of you are not enough. You are not doing something you should be doing, or what I think you should be doing, or something like that. Again, also kind of indicting you for things like, I feel like I know you think this because you always do this, or you always do that, or that sort of vocabulary and that tone is what's being utilized. And then the conversation kind of ends, like the conversation doesn't last very long because there's like a mixed match of energy and there's a mixed match of like, what's the point trying to be made or what, there's a mixed match of needs, I guess, is what I'm trying to illustrate, okay? But again, you're not fighting, you're not debating, you're not arguing. We're really just sitting here observing this person trying to interact with us, okay? Because remember, we're going the route of I'm actually listening. I'm not being petty by deflecting and also pushing something at you. I'm actually listening for me in my life. I've had quite a few of these types of experiences. And a previous version of myself was not, I don't want to say petty, I definitely was not into like, let me throw this back at you. You throwing this at me? No, I'm going to throw it right back at you. No. On the flip side, I would internalize it. I would take it as, oh no. I would internalize that, wait, I can completely see that you are feeling like unaligned right now. You're feeling uncomfortable or hurt or upset, or you triggered by something. Now, even though I know that it actually doesn't have anything to do with me. I've internalized the fact that you are throwing this at me. So now I feel like I must have done something wrong, or I haven't done enough of something. And now I need to mold myself to do something in order to make you happy, because I would like for you to be happy because I care about you. So I will do that. If you could just let me know what it is. And you're not, because I've asked you and you keep on deflecting, but keep on throwing this energy at me. That's what I used to do. That is what I used to do. Have you done that though? Let me know. Have you done that? Have you been there? Have you done that? Let me know in the comments. Let me know. And that was very exhausting. It kind of felt like I was existing on eggshells. This thing you walk on eggshells? I was like existing on eggshells while wearing tap shoes. Like that's what it felt like. It's taken a lot of work and a lot of time to get to this point where I am now, where I've stepped off the eggshells and taken off the tap shoes. Even though I think tap dancing is awesome. I like it. To shift from that mode to where I am now, which is still a work in progress, but we have made some progress. I had to get an understanding for myself about projecting and codependency and people pleasing and disentangling myself from the projections that I've accumulated for a while that I didn't know were not mine to be carrying. Once I did that, because what I find interesting with life is that when you do this work and you like, okay, cool, I got these tools, I picked up these skills, then like there's all these opportunities that come in to practice those skills, which may feel like punishment because you're like, but why are we here again? Why are we dealing with this again? But it's like, no, this is opportunity for you to really solidify the transformation that has already taken place. I'm very aware of my own triggers. I'm very aware when I immediately have an immediate reaction and be very disciplined on choosing not to react, but respond in a way that's more aligned with being mutually beneficial with the interaction. So with that, I'm now, instead of internalizing and then really just focusing on the projection, I take my time while I'm choosing to respond to focus on the layers behind the projection. So for me, the way it makes sense to me is that a projection that someone's throwing at you is based off of that's like a type of behavior, right? That's based off of a need that person has that's not being met. And that need is based on a feeling that they are uncomfortable with or really don't like. Here is where it gets interesting, because I like to think that when these types of interactions are happening, in particular with people who are close to us, I feel there's like these multiple cycles in our lives that we have the opportunity to shift in a good way. And if you are someone who chooses to pause and make that shift, I feel like you are creating like this massive ripple that touches so many other people, and as well as like generational lineages behind you and in front of you when you choose to do this. So when you choose to respond by not focusing on the projection, but focusing on the feeling, for me, I see it as that feel, like when you're looking at the person, I see it as that feeling is like their inner child standing next to them. And their inner child is not happy. So that, again, the feeling possibly has, again, nothing to do with you. But something about you or something about y'all's history brings up their inner child's unhappiness, which technically is something you who's on the receiving end of this projection snowball. You really have nothing, you can't, I can't touch their inner child. I can't, I would love to hug everyone's inner child, but I can't. They have to hug their own. But it's not just one. There's a whole line of them around said person that's speaking to you that has been constantly tugging at their person to please, can you please acknowledge me? Can you please value me? Can you please deal with this? Because I don't like being here in the dark. Why are you keeping me in the dark? They may not be at that moment in time in the frame of mind to hear that, right now I can hear that you are upset. But I can also see that this is much deeper than the fact that a piece of paper wasn't folded yesterday, and that's why you're so upset or triggered by interacting with me right now. I don't think it has anything to do with the paper being folded. It's something much deeper that somehow the paper being folded or not folded is triggering for you right now. Now, when it comes to cycles, which I've noticed in my life, is that to keep the peace, even when we see this, we keep it to ourselves. Even if you've done all this inner work, right? So that you are not triggered when someone throws projections at you. You see them for what it is. And you can, if you've been practicing, you can possibly immediately take note of which version of them is hurting right now, that is causing them to lash out like this, or causing them to constantly, like, even though they're saying they want you to be closer, or they're saying they want to connect with you, their entire behavior is pushing you away. What do you do with that knowledge? Now that you have that knowledge, what do you do with it? For me, I've noted that, okay, I can see that for what it is. So now I can choose to not act like the person who's projecting on me, which already that means we're shifting out of a cycle then, right? But to keep the peace, because the other person may not be at that same level of understanding that, we won't say anything. We'll just tolerate it or keep it to ourselves, or, okay, thank you, bye, right? For me, this got me thinking of, like, when we do that, even as uncomfortable as it is, when we choose to, I know it's like, it is uncomfortable to tell somebody that, like, yo, I can see you're triggered, but it's like, it's a personal problem. But if we want to talk about it, we can get that off our chest, right? That's uncomfortable because not everybody is open to that in that moment in time, or at any moment in time for some. But when we keep that knowledge to ourselves, or we just, like, I won't say anything, just to keep the peace, I won't mention that actually the way you're interacting with me is hurting my feelings, or the way you're approaching me makes me feel not safe. I feel like there is multiple steps to like, I know it's weird to say solidify the ripple, because a ripple is water. So technically it should not be solid, because then it'll be ice, and then there'll be no ripple because it's ice. But maybe make the ripple more substantial, maybe is the right analogy or illustration for this. I feel there's multiple steps to it. The first step is all about you. You've done that first step, where now you actually just listen and choose to respond because you can see that this person in front of you is hurting, and it may not have anything to do with you, but for some reason, the scenario needs to be happening with you, because possibly, similar to how they are giving you an opportunity to acknowledge your own healing, this is an opportunity for you to acknowledge for them something that they're going through as well. Some aspect to acknowledge some other aspect of their evolution. I feel the next step to that, which this is where we're getting there. The next step to that is, like, thinking, what do you do with this knowledge? Like, now that you have it, now that you've gotten to this point of, like, okay, I can still interact from a place of love, while also maintaining healthy boundaries, while also seeing interactions for what they are, and not attaching myself to them, not sitting in a space of entitlement, and not mimicking, as in just throwing projections back. When we go the route of, this has nothing to do with me, this is a personal problem on you, and I'm just going to leave you with your personal problem, I feel like that mode of operation leads to resentment, developing and festering resentment. Because even though, like in this scenario, I can see that this is a reflection of what you're going through. And maybe the projection's happening on me because there is something about me, or something the way I'm going to interact with you, that may inspire you to continue on your journey and whatever you need to do for yourself. But even with having that knowledge, I still can't help but feel that if this is the way this person is interacting with me, choosing to project, a part of me still feels that that demonstrates that they don't care for me as much as they claim they do, or they don't love me as much as they claim they do, or they're not my people the way they claim they are my people. If they're choosing to behave in this way, even though I now have the knowledge to understand that this is not all about me, it's about them and what they're going through. But if we're going to just keep that knowledge, to keep the peace, we're just not even going to open up that conversation. We'll just allow the projection to happen without reacting, then respond as kindly as possible and keep the conversation short and just move away from that energy. Now, the person who was on the receiving end of this scenario is hurt, right? Regardless of that knowledge of knowing this is not about me, it's about them, but you're hurt. You can't help but feel like, hey, I don't know if I can trust this person. I'm not sure if I can trust this person. I'm not sure if this person is as, I don't know what that was, sorry. I don't know if I can trust this person, or I don't know if I can rely on this person really as much as I thought I could. While the other person, right? So, and that can easily lead to resentment before you even realize that you kind of gradually just don't really, especially if this is behavior that just continues because we're not talking about it, because we're not expressing this is how I feel. So before you know it, there is somewhat resentment happening. Before you know it, you find yourself gradually just like, I'm just going to avoid interacting with this person. I'm just going to pull away a bit. We're just going to pull away. The other person who was throwing the projection snowballs also feels hurt. Because even though they may or may not know how their behavior is connected to their need, or is connected to a feeling, that their behavior, in some respects, their behavior was a cry for help. And if they were expecting or betting or assuming that you were supposed to respond in a certain way, you're supposed to react in a certain way, you're supposed to do something, they now feel hurt because it's possible they feel abandoned or feel neglected or feel misunderstood or feel not loved, which then also develops resentment. So now both of you who are supposed to be tight, like close, like this is like what? We family, whatever. Both of y'all sitting there hurt. Both of you are completely hurt. And don't even know where to start to talk about it because you can't even put a finger on why I'm hurt. Because technically, you didn't do anything to me. Technically, they didn't do anything to you. Technically, you didn't do anything to them. I've been starting to see that this hurt that we just be carrying all the time, that is kind of perpetuated by the people we love, by the people we're close to, by the people we like. I don't want to say ride or die because that's like, has other connotations, but the people you show up for, regardless. I feel like that is, to me anyway, that hurt feels heavier than this one scenario or this one interaction. To me, it feels like this is not only my hurt that I'm carrying, it's their hurt that I'm also carrying. It's also generational hurt because this is a cycle that has continued because we continue to keep the peace. I'm not going to say nothing. They're not going to say nothing. I'm just going to keep to myself over here. Just going to keep to myself over there. but we'll smile in pictures or whatever, and it's fine. I feel this second step of how do you express this knowledge in a way to prevent this hurt from happening, to prevent this resentment from developing. I'm still working on that. I am still working on that for me. I feel like it does require communication that can feel uncomfortable. And for me, I see it as I'm open to having that communication if I can get the sense that that person, this person in the scenario, genuinely values this connection the way I do. In order to measure that, I look at what has been the flow of giving and receiving within this connection. And where has it been and what aspects has it been one-sided? On my end and on their end. I feel looking into that can give some clues on the source of the feeling that the person you're dealing with is triggered by. And the source of your own feelings as to why you may feel you need to go into self-defense mode when this type of scenario comes up. It's not easy. Like, this stuff is not easy, but I feel like for me, it's made such a difference in how I maneuver my reality and how I can be more compassionate with myself and compassionate with others while avoiding neglect or dismissing or lack of boundaries. But it's still for me, it's still very much a work in progress. But I'm so grateful to see, to even see that this is what the next step looks like, and being able to practice that is very encouraging, because then it means we might be on the right path here in what we feel called to experience. Does that resonate with you? Have you had these sorts of scenarios or experiences? And have you noticed a difference in how you choose to react or respond? Let me know in the comments so we can continue the conversation. As I'm also interested in learning from you, because I'm sure you probably are at the third or fourth step, possibly. So it would be encouraging to also find out, what do the next steps look like after this step that I'm practicing with? Thank you so much for watching. Be safe. I'll see you next time.